Hey everyone, and welcome to Echoes of Impact, the podcast where we unpack the most powerful speeches in history and what made them resonate far beyond the podium. I'm your host, Gabby Rodriguez, and today we're diving into one of the most iconic moments in the global fight for gender equality, Hillary Clinton's 1995 speech at the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing. This wasn't just any speech, it was a diplomatic tightrope walk, a rhetorical masterclass, and a global call to action, delivered at a moment when the world was finally starting to listen to the voices of women. Let me set the scene. It's September 1995. More than 1,500 delegates from 189 countries gather in Beijing for the largest international conference on women's rights ever held. The stakes, huge. The host country, China, has a shaky human rights record, and many in the US government are worried that Hillary Clinton, the First Lady, might upset diplomatic relations by speaking too loudly. But she does it anyway, and not with vague platitudes or safe political speak, no. She delivers a speech that cuts into the hearts of human suffering and demands we call it what it is.
If there is one message that echoes forth from this conference, let it be that human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights once and for all.
That sentence, it became a rallying cry, a quote printed on protest signs, etched into textbooks, and echoed in speeches for decades. But why did the speech matter so much? Let's break it down. First, context is everything. This was more than just a first lady giving a nice speech overseas. Clinton was speaking at a time when global feminism was gaining momentum, but political leaders, especially from the global south, weren't being heard on the world stage. And in a country where speech is often censored, her presence alone was a statement. Even without naming China directly, she called out human rights abuses. Forced sterilizations, child marriages, domestic violence, lack of education for girls. Her language made the implicit explicit. And the audience, not your average room of politicians. These were diplomats, activists, NGOs, people used to reading between the lines, people who knew exactly what she meant even without her saying it. Now let's talk rhetoric. Clinton's speeches straight up a textbook example of how to use repetition and parallelism for power. Take this line.
It is a violation of human rights when young girls are brutalized by the painful and degrading practice of genital mutilation.
She repeats it over and over, and each time she names a different abuse. Rape and war, burning of brides for dowry, denial of education. The rhythm builds like a drumbeat, and the message is crystal clear. These aren't cultural quirks. They're violations of universal human rights. And then there's imagery. Clinton doesn't hold back. She speaks of babies suffocated, women set on fire. Imagery so visceral, it forces the audience to stop intellectualizing and feel the injustice. But what makes the speech truly remarkable is its balance. Clinton manages to be bold without being combative. She doesn't single out countries or leaders. Instead, she calls on our shared humanity. She ends with a challenge, not a threat.
Let this conference be our and the world's call to action.
It's inclusive, it's motivating, and it sidesteps political landmines without compromising moral clarity. So, did it work? Yes and no. Internationally, the speech was celebrated, delegates cried, applause thundered. Feminists worldwide adopted her words as a mantra. It even helped shape future policies and global conversations around gender equality. But in China, the government censored the broadcast. The very power of her words made them dangerous. That in itself is a testament to their impact. So, what does this speech teach us about public speaking? It teaches us that the most effective speeches are grounded in truth, even when inconvenient, speak across cultures by appealing to universal values, use rhetorical devices like repetition, imagery, and parallelism, not as decoration, but as tools of persuasion, and perhaps most importantly, they don't just inform, they inspire. Hillary Clinton walked into that room as the First Lady of the United States, but she walked out as something more, a global voice for women's rights, and a symbol of what public speaking can do when it's bold, smart, and human. Thanks for listening to Echoes of Impact. If you like this episode, consider sharing it with a friend or a teacher who loves good speeches. Until next time, speak up, speak out, and never underestimate the power of your voice.